Welcome to the Bill Levinson Experience, a motivational podcast relating to the insurance brokerage industry and business in general. And now, here's Bill Levinson.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Bill Levinson Experience podcast. Here we are, the end of June, in fact, going into the July 4th weekend holiday. So, number one, we got a special guest speaker here, and I'm so delighted to introduce all of you to Mr. Jeffery Hill, and the reason why, there's a few reasons that I want to point out here. So, we had our expo, and it was just a few months ago here in 2023. As you know, Levinson has the annual expo, typically the end of quarter one, early quarter two every year. And, you know, this year was different. And number one, we had a record number of attendees. We had some great presenters, some great nuggets, as I always like to say, on the life and annuity side. And at the end of the day, I always do my interviews with agents and agencies. And, you know, I was probably on like the third or fourth agent interview because we like to get feedback, and then we use that in our videos. And, you know, I was speaking to another agent, and everything was going great. And he said, hey, you know, this guy, Jeffery Hill, and obviously I knew his name but never met him face to face. He's like, you got to get his thoughts too. You know, he's amazing, a great business, blah, blah, blah. And I said, all right, this would be awesome. So we introduced ourselves, and I brought him over and said, all right, Jeff, you know, we're on camera. What do you think of the day? And this guy was such a great speaker that I said to myself, I was like, Jeff, I gotta have you on the podcast. You would be amazing. So very, very intelligent guy with an MBA. The Hill Financial Group is the name of his company. In fact, I'm going to share all of his details at the end in case there's any consumers listening that want to get a hold of Jeff, in case there's any agents listening that maybe they want to partner up or work together. Whatever the case is, I'm going to share all of his contact info so you can jump in or, of course, reach out to us if you want any more info about Jeff and his operation. So let's jump right in. Number one, Jeff, I want to thank you for taking the time and just introduce you to our audience quickly. So we really appreciate you jumping in here.
Awesome, Bill. Can you hear me? Good, man. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation, man. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to come in and, you know, hopefully impart a level of wisdom, if you will, and answer any kind of questions you guys have for me. I've been blessed to be in the financial services industry now for over 14 years, and I started my career in the heat of the recession, the last recession. I started in 2009. And I just saw what it took to build a business and service clients in some of the toughest times. So I knew, you know, I always like to say my company is built for times like this because I came into the chaos and I had to learn how to weather the storm and to bring financial security and peace of mind to people. So anytime I get the opportunity to come on podcasts and kind of, you know, share some light, however you want to take that at the end of the tunnel, man, I always appreciate being able to do that. So again, thank you for the opportunity to come in, and thank you guys for the company that you guys are building and been, you know, a great value add to my business over the last, oh my gosh, I don't even remember when I started working with you guys. I think it was 2013, I want to say. So, you know,
I think it's been about 8 years or 10 years.
Yeah. We're coming up on a decade. So that's awesome, man. Thank you guys.
Of course. And, you know, what's funny is, you know, you speak on the phone and you see emails every day, whatever it is. But when I met you in person and we did this quick interview at the end of the day, you know, I was like, oh, my gosh, this guy is amazing. And, you know, here he is. He had his beautiful family there. And I was just so impressed. And I was like, God, we got to get this done as soon as possible. So anyway, I'm just glad it all worked out. And I know, and we have an audience. We have thousands and thousands of people listening from ages, you know, 17 right out of high school to in their 80s and even early 90s from all over the U.S. estate planning attorneys and CPAs and friends of mine, from the car community, the gym, my networking business group. So, it's very nice, I think, to listen to your story if they're involved in our business or not. And if you're interested in speaking to Jeff, like I said, I'll share his info, but just take some notes, everyone. Walk away with nuggets, as I always say. And if you can get some inspiration, motivation, it's a win-win across the board. So let's switch gears for a second. I love this. So Jeff, if you can share with everyone, how did you even get started in the business, and what did you do before this? Just give everyone a little background, if you will.
Okay, awesome. So, like many of you, I was taught to go to high school, get good grades, go to college so we can get that good JOB. So in college, I was mass communication with a double minor in theater and MIS, which is Management Information Systems, basically computer programming. So when I first graduated, I was like, okay, well, I want to go see what this first degree can get me, what kind of job opportunities or exist in the marketplace. And for me, I grew up in Arkansas, guys, in the country. I used to think $50,000 a year was a lot of money, and that was kind of my goal. Was when I graduated, I wanted to be able to make $50,000 a year. I kind of did the numbers, like if my apartment cost me this, I'll be able to save this, and great, right? And I got that first job with Centos Corporation, the uniform company, and I learned a lot with them, but I also started to realize I don't think corporate America was for me, and there were several things that just kind of happened along the way that had me really thinking and wanting to tap into my entrepreneurial roots, because I started my first business when I was like 11, 12 years old. I was playing golf. My parents couldn't afford to give me money for golf, so I knew how to push a lawnmower. So one of my best friends who was teaching me how to play golf, we just started our lawn care business. But literally, we would cut a yard to make some money, then go straight to the golf course. And we wanted to play more and practice more, so we had to get more clients. And eventually, we had weekly routes and weekly clients we were servicing. So I remember tapping into that and saying, well, this corporate America thing isn't working out. I don't like the fact that somebody controls my income. They control my lifestyle. They control everything, my life, and I was in a position where it wasn't bad. I was on a 4-day work week, no nights, no weekends, paid every week. So at the time, I was probably making around $45,000 a year. So I was really close to, that ideal income. But when I started thinking into the future, raising a family on that kind of income just didn't make sense. And I knew there was some money out there that existed, because I could drive around some of these neighborhoods and see the houses and the cars and thinking, somebody knows something that I do not know. And I wonder what that is. So 2009 came around. Everything was getting kind of crazy in the industry. And when most people are trying to be safe and secure during a recession, I was making a bold, faith-based move to say, I'm going to go 100% commission. And this is my first time, being truly out on my own, no roommates in college, none of that. I had just bought a brand new car that January, and here we are in June, and I'm getting ready to walk away from the security that I knew to go chase the passion of mine. And it was interesting, man. So I was initially recruited by a Fortune 100 company, New York Life, one of the oldest and largest mutual insurance companies in the industry. And I remember looking at their business model, and at the time I was also getting my MBA. And I remember saying to the recruiter, I was like, listen, so this is pretty much like me running my own business. And he said, exactly. If you come in here and treat this like a business, it'll pay you like a business. If you treat it like a hobby, it'll pay you like a hobby. And I was so hungry to get away from my current role, I was willing to step out on faith and see what I was made of, because my idea was, if you give me a salary, that's only going to promote me to be lazy, because I know I have something to fall back on. So I knew if I was leaving this salary, this corporate job, I knew it had to be 100% commission, because I wanted to know if I could truly make this work. And the idea was, if I don't make more than $45,000, that means maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was, and I can always go back and work for somebody. So my goal was to come in and never fire myself. And when you're in the industry like financial services that has an extremely high turnover rate, one of the things I can say is I had to become a sponge. I had to soak up a lot of information, and I started hanging around people who Well, I saw their pictures on the wall in the office and said, well, what are these guys doing? They've been here for 20 plus years. Their picture on the wall. Let me go interview them. So I remember in my early career just sitting around with the wisdom of people who've been in this industry and picking their brain and taking a lot of notes and saying, well, how do I make this business work? How do I stay here 20 years? And I went into implementation mode. So, hopefully that's not too long of an explanation, but that's kind of how I got into the industry.
That's fantastic. Let me ask you, did you have, like, at this point, I'm just curious because I had a similar story coming into the business. Did you have a mentor, a coach, maybe a parent that pushed you a little bit, or was it basically just you pushing yourself?
No, it was me. It was me pushing myself, me and God.
Wow, I love it.
So when I say faith-based moves, man, I do a lot of speaking engagements about this time of my life and some of the things that I learned, some of the principles like the law of sacrifice and what that meant, the law of compensation. So for me, one of the things that I love about this journey is that it's a journey. So you often hear the people say it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And for me, the journey of becoming is absolutely important. Most people are only focused on being, like I'm ready to get there. But sometimes if you get to that destination, quote unquote, too fast, and you don't stop along the way and look at what you learned, how are you ever going to help anybody else overcome their hurdles? Because the stuff that we go through, Bill, is not necessarily for us sometimes. It's for the people. It's for us to be able to share and help other people get there. So because I went through certain trials and tribulations, I can now go back and help teach people some of the pitfalls, whether it's, entrepreneurship, personal development, business. I know there's mistakes that I made because I did not have that person outside of the industry pushing me. It was just me saying, I know there's more to life and I have to go find it. Now, once I got in, there were, of course, a lot of people that were willing to help me. But even then, you also have to be bold enough to go ask for certain levels of help,
Right.
And that's exactly what I started doing as I started asking for help, and the help came.
But that's a great story. I love to hear it. I'm just curious more than anything, like this, to be so persistent and resilient. Obviously, you were on a mission here and so focused on your goal. Was this kind of instilled in you since you were a kid, or like did it come from books or friends, or just you were just like this from day one kind of thing? I'm just curious more than anything.
I would probably say a combination of a lot of that. I've always been a very, curious person. I've always been the person that wouldn't mind asking, like, okay, so why do we do this a certain way? Why is this the way it is? And I would say, in school, we're taught to follow a model and to fit inside the box. But I've always been the kind of an outlier. Even the fact that, I snow ski, water ski, I play golf, and I'm African American for the listeners. I'm black, right? And typically you don't hear a lot of black people saying that, and I don't have a problem talking about that. But for me, it was always, well, when I'm telling friends, hey, I'm going to go to Colorado, I'm going snow skiing. Well, wait, black people don't do that. Well, why not? It's dangerous. Like, really though? Is it? But it looks so fun. And I've always been one of the people who wanted to challenge the status quo and the thought process on, well, why don't you do certain things if you can? And I wanted to say, well, let me go do it and get my own experience and create my own idea of what something is, instead of just always trusting somebody at what level of whatever the thing is. So I've kind of always been, and I grew up in the country, so we grew up, running through the woods and exploring and climbing trees. So that exploration and thirst for knowledge has kind of always been there. But when you're in the school system, for my younger people who, maybe, I think you said you have people as young as 17, I want you guys to understand, if you feel weird, like you don't fit into the school model, it's okay, because you're probably an entrepreneur. And unfortunately, at least back then, I think some places have gotten a lot better now, there wasn't a lot of teaching around entrepreneurship. Like, I knew some people, the most successful guy I knew, I play golf with his son, and apparently, legend has it, if you would, that he was a millionaire back then, and he started his own company. So I kind of saw that from a distance, but I didn't have anybody that was ever mentoring me, and I just really, I was instilled the value of hard work, so I knew if I wanted something, how to get up and go use my able body to do so, and go use that wherewithal to figure out how to make something work. And my parents weren't the best at money, so I had to learn how to hustle, and not hustle in a nefarious way, but like hustlers in, okay, hey, I can go rake some leaves, I can go cut your yard for you, I can go do some odd jobs. I learned how to put myself to work to go make money, to go get the things that I wanted, right? And this was no different. Now, the value of education is important, but what is education really teaching you? Nobody was really teaching me about money, and I knew money was an essential thing that we were all going to need, and I did know we didn't really have a lot of it growing up, so I had to go discover what money really, really was and how to attract it, and then how to manipulate it in the right way to do what I wanted it to do, as opposed to I only make money so I can pay some bills. I didn't want that for myself.
Yeah, Jeff, that was one of the best things ever said on this show, is what you just said about there's no blueprint, there's no mold, and because I'm obviously I'm a Jewish guy, and it's the same kind of thing. They would say, Jewish boy at the time, you Jewish guys don't fish. You like to fish, Bill? And it was the same kind of thing. And I would say, well, who says that? You could
right.
do. There's no limit. We're human beings. We bleed the same color.
Absolutely.
Right? We're all capable. And you're
Absolutely.
right. There's no blueprint, and it doesn't matter. You can't say to yourself, I only fit into this category, so I can only do this. The sky is the limit, and Jeff,
right.
You're exactly right. I love that part of this show. That was awesome, and it's so true for all listeners. Okay, good stuff, man. This is great. So, all right, let's jump into the next thing, and if we can again switch gears and talk about now.
Okay.
Your business. If you could tell everyone, obviously you were with New York Life, and I'm sure you learned the ropes, and then when did you transition into your own company, your own business?
So here's what's kind of interesting about that. Stuff just kind of has fallen into place even before I understood maybe why. And I remember making cold calls. Sometimes the people are calling a referral, and I say, hey, this is Jeff from New York Life, and I would go through my whole spiel. And I had people that would hang up like, oh, I already had a New York Life before. Click. And I'm thinking, wait, but you've never had me. So at that point, I was like, I need to just start to brand myself, because if I ever leave New York Life, I want people to associate me with the industry instead of me with New York Life, because New York Life doesn't make me. That's just a company that I represent their products and services. They taught me a lot, but I wanted to be able to stand apart. So if I call somebody, I would say, hey, this is Jeffery Hill Financial Group. And then if I needed to use, a big box name, I'll say, I'm supported by the strength of New York Life. But when I did that, I'm not worried about people hanging up saying, oh, I already had a Hill Financial Group. You haven't, So for me, the business just kind of started to evolve, just like most people. When you come into a career agency like some of the big box shops like New York Life, it's very regimented in terms of what you learn. And I'm so thankful that I came in super green and super hungry, because I didn't know anything about financial services. I had no idea. I just knew the business model was something business-based, and it was affordable for me to start. Because remember, in 2009, banks were not loaning money to go start businesses like that. They were not going to give me $1.8 million to start a Five Guys franchise. But I had a couple of $100 to get licensed, and I was with a company that had a very rigorous training program. And I said, get in and learn everything you can. And even to this day, I still take that methodology of sharpening my sword and learning. So naturally, I started to remember that I'm an entrepreneur. Right? At one point in time, I was looking at going to the partner track and starting to recruit. But then I would have been an employee for New York Life. And I remember I left corporate America because I wanted freedom. So if I become a partner, even though the income and stuff is great, they kind of control my life. Now I'm back on this 2-week vacation type thing, and I didn't want that. So I said, all right, let's just brand Hill Financial Group. So around 2013, I started branding that name. I'm about 4 years into my career at that point. And then 2015, I decided to go 100% independent. And one of the reasons why I did that is I believe in multiple sources of income. And with New York Life, as good as they were, they limited how I could earn income outside of them. Even with my real estate portfolio, I started a real estate investment company in 2013, and I was taught how to do creative finance with real estate. Well, they said, well, listen, we don't want you to do it that way. We want you to do it this way. And I'm like, you don't pay me to do real estate, so I don't want to do it that way. It's like, well, you have a contract with us, so if you want to keep this contract that you signed, we need you to go to the bank, get a loan, and then put somebody in the house. And I'm like, all right, if that's the case, this is not quite working out. And then I started another venture as well, and they said, no, you can't do that. And I was like, all right, this seems too much like corporate America, too much control. Let me just press reset and start everything over under the Hill Financial Group name. And that's what allowed my business to transition, because the work was the same, whether I was doing it underneath New York Life's guidance, if you will, or underneath Hill Financial Group. The work was still the same. So I had to get over a couple of like mental hurdles, because I had built up nice residual income, which is phenomenal. And I gave all of that up to go build my own brand.
Wow, which is a big move. It was a big move twice.
Absolutely.
Number one, starting
God.
with New York Life, with a few $100, and then step two is going out again and building your own brand now, your own company, and all those residuals, and they keep your book of business, I assume.
Yeah, that part.
Oh, that's brutal. And it's funny. We do these podcasts every month, and some of our most successful agents are on these, and they all have like a very similar background story. If it was Mass Mutual or MetLife or New York Life, and they all kind of cut their teeth the same way, and then decided, after a few years, this isn't for me, and then branched off on their own. So I don't think it's a bad path for a new
absolutely
agent.
Not.
Yeah. I think it's a good way to learn the ropes, and then go off on your own when you're ready. When you have to be there. So no, that's great. And tell everyone too. So today, here we are, 10 years later, after you started your company. What is your focus, and do you handle all types of financial products today? And just let everyone know.
Yeah. So about the only thing that I don't really do a lot in is in the health insurance space. But my focus is a lot around tax-free retirement income. Okay, taxes are a very big hot button, and the question I often ask is, do you think taxes are going to be high in the future? Yes or no? Most people say yes, and I ask, do you think they can be a lot higher? Most people say yes. So then the question is, do you want to pay them? And people say, well, no, I don't want to pay taxes in retirement. I don't want to pay them now. So you have to ask yourself, what's your strategy to make sure you're not going to get harmed by taxes in retirement? And that's where normally the conversation just kind of falls short. And people say, well, man, I don't know. Okay, well, wouldn't it be beneficial to go ahead and put something in place that gives you liquidity, use, and control, and to alleviate government interference through taxation? Well, absolutely. So with that, I jumped into, kind of what I do now is a big focus on that. And let me kind of even go back prior to ever getting into the industry. I was driving my truck with Centos Corporation, and I heard this advertisement on the radio about this, nearly 200-year-old strategy that was used by banks, corporations, and the wealthy people to keep their money safe and protected, and it never lost money. It's grown every single year, and all this cool stuff. And I'm like, well, what is that thing? That sounds like something that I would be interested in, because inherently 401ks have always seemed kind of weird to me. Okay, you want me to give you my money. I get to lose all control over it. You get paid whether I lose money or not. And if I want access to it, I get still penalties and taxation. And now you're telling me there's a tool out there that doesn't have all of that red tape? So I remember downloading a 75-page ebook. It was a book called Bank on Yourself by Pamela Yellen. And I remember reading it and just thinking, like, this makes so much sense. Why isn't everybody doing this? And eventually when I got into the industry, it was probably 8 months in before I realized I could actually create those same strategies. So I learned about something 2 years before I got into the industry, and then 8 months in, so I'm nearly 3 years into this knowledge of this strategy, And I said, ooh, wait, I can do that now. And I shifted my focus toward there. And then, of course, over the time, as I've grown in my own entrepreneur endeavors and things that I've done, I've had to build out different teams for stuff that I am up against. And I also know other business owners and entrepreneurs are going to be up against things like tax planning. Tax prep and tax planning are different. So now we incorporate the virtual family office experience where if somebody comes in, it's kind of like a one-stop shop because CPAs are kind of up against it. So for all my CPAs and accountants who are looking to grow their business, you are at a crossroad right now where your clients are asking you to do more and you don't really sometimes understand how to do the work, have the capacity or the staff to do it, or the knowledge. And if you do, you don't sometimes know how to charge because you've never done value-based billing. So in that capacity, I work with CPAs and accountants to help them do holistic and proactive planning for their clients because people are looking for that. Everybody's heard these stories about the Amazon and, making billions of dollars and paying zero in taxes, and you got, your firm making a couple of mil and you having to pay a lot in taxes. And you're thinking, how are these big firms getting away with it? Well, a lot of times they have tax planning done, not tax prep, tax planning done, and they work with a virtual family office, or maybe they have in-house people that's keeping a holistic and proactive view on what they're doing. Well, that's what I do inside the business as well. So I do a lot of the advanced planning techniques, and then because every now and again, since I build my business on referrals, I have people who just say, hey, listen, I'm just looking to, get some additional life insurance in place for whatever, or maybe I want one of those infinite banking policies that I heard you talk about. Great, I'm equipped to handle all of that.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And what you said about the CPAs is it's so important. You know what, we hear a lot of agents working with accountants, and
Mm-hmm.
it's happening more and more. It's a strategy that's been around for a while. Some accountants look at it like a conflict of interest too, where they say, hey, I don't want to get involved with
right.
the life insurance planning aspect. I'd rather refer it out and work with an agent. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where you would come in. So that's
Absolutely.
brilliant, and you're exactly right. So that's a bit, and then obviously you handle, if it's mortgage protection or an IUL, whole life sale, all the above for life insurance and annuities, I assume, right?
Right. So, the analogy I like to use when it comes to products, I like to use a golf analogy because, as mentioned, I am a golfer. Think about it like this. Let's say you had an invitation to the Masters, Bill. The Masters is probably the most prestigious course that you can play on in and of itself, right? And if I said, hey, listen, Tiger's not going to play this year, and he said, you can have his spot. Now, if you have the option to get his clubs or his swing, which one would you rather have?
I would take the swing.
Exactly. Now, again, you put any kind of club in Tiger's hand, 9 times out of 10, he's going to be very proficient at it because his swing is what he's focused on. It's not so much the club. So a lot of times when you're dealing with advisors, they focus just on the clubs. Oh, I got this cool product. It's going to give you 2 or 3% more return. For me, I look at what are some of the inefficiencies that you're doing in your planning and how can we put that together, right? So I focus on more of the swing and how these different tools work together with your overall plans. So it's a bit of a uniqueness in it, and that's why we bring in expertise like the CPAs, the tax planning, the business strategies, and things like that, because my goal is to help you grow your business because I'm trying to be the most proactive advisor on your team.
That's brilliant. I love that analogy. And it's so true. You're right. When a lot of people are focused on the clubs, you're looking at the more holistic approach and the big picture and putting it all
Mm-hmm.
together. Yeah, I love it. Do you also work with other agents that maybe in your downline or you partner with or not so much? Is it me? Yeah.
So yeah, because I've been in the business and people have seen, I guess, my proficiency and growth over the years, I've had a lot of people who have reached out to me. Some of them said, listen, I want to work directly underneath you. I don't mind, doing a commission split or whatever the case may be because they know they're going to learn. And for me, if that's one of the hacks, like fast track things that I can say to maybe somebody who's entertaining getting into the industry is get a mentor, right?
Yeah.
Even now, 14 plus years in, actually, almost 15 years in, I still have mentors. I still sharpen my sword because, you should always be growing. The spirit is for greater expansion, right? So I can't let myself get stagnant and think I know everything because now I'm starting to go backwards. There's a concept called the slight edge, and if you understand time continues on whether you want it to or not, what you're doing is either putting you on the success curve or the failing curve. So for me, the day I decide I'm okay with not learning anymore, I start going backwards immediately. So every single day, I'm pretty much trying to feed, my psyche, if you will, with something, whether that's a podcast, book, attending conferences, which is why I came to the expo. I like to be in the room sometimes because networking is where you make a lot of your money at. So I absolutely work with other agents. I've done, some one-off joint work cases, and I got some people who I work with on a more consistent basis.
Yeah, that's great. You're exactly right. And for everyone listening, you hear me talk about this on the webinars and podcasts. It's like every day, feeding your head. It's like you got to move. If it's an inch or a foot or 10 feet, you have to move the needle. And I feel like as soon as you get comfortable and you say, "Oh, I got this," I'm good. I figured it out. You're done. It's like you're in reverse. So I love that point, and you'll hear that. It's a common theme from most successful people. They say the same thing, and it doesn't matter what age you are. You hear the same exact thing. You got to constantly move forward and learn. It's never ending. Literally, it's never ending.
Mm-hmm.
All right, good stuff. Now, no, it's true, and I don't know. I hear this from professional athletes and agents all across the board. What do you recommend? Any good books or podcasts or courses or anything that especially for the younger audience, maybe even middle-aged or older agents in our business, anything that you use to keep you motivated?
Oh my God, like a lot.
Yeah.
We're in such the information age. What I like about it is you have so much free information at your disposal. I mean, literally, YouTube University is a thing, right? You can go to YouTube, type in the concept, and go down endless rabbit trails of information. The algorithm is really good about keeping you kind of in the hamster wheel of information. But sometimes too much information without clarity and direction can be dangerous because if you go down a contrarian-based rabbit hole, it's going to unwind everything that you might be learning. But so for me, wisdom is being able to learn new information, but it doesn't necessarily have to sway you. Like I can understand your point and see where you're at, but it doesn't necessarily mean it changed the way I thought, right? But it's how you disseminate against information. So I would say YouTube. I mean, like some of the people that I follow: Van Mueller, Tom Hegner, David McKnight. These are some of the icons in this industry. Zoffley Taylor. Man, I've learned so much from these guys. And for the people who are in this industry, the biggest difference between people who are very successful in this industry sometimes and people who might be struggling is the language that you use. Learning how to communicate effectively to your clients makes the world of a difference. And it doesn't mean you're going to have a 100% closing ratio because sometimes people just want information and they never want to implement. It happens, right? But if you are, making that 2% increase every single day or 1% better or whatever, great. I do a lot of podcasts I listen to, Robert Kiyosaki, even like, going to one-offs with Joe Rogan because his content is so wide-spanning. Catch a Bet David, even though I guess competitively we would be in the same industry, I like to learn from different people, and I try not to get so one-sided. Like, for example, if you love what Fox News is saying and that's the only thing you listen to, no. I'll listen to Fox News, I'll listen to CNN, I'll listen to MSNBC, I'll listen to different ones because from now I get data from different sources, and now maybe I can formulate my own opinion and how I feel about a certain topic as opposed to just listening to one thing. Like Dave Ramsey is really good when it comes to helping people get out of debt. But when it starts to talk about life insurance and investing, I always tell a lot of people, turn them off at this point, because a lot of what he's saying is somewhat outdated, and it's not really rooted in proper math. But he can help you get out of debt if you're willing to eat pork and beans every single day. Listen to him up to a certain point. Even the conversations about good debt versus bad debt. He says, don't go into debt. Well, I know a lot of people who've created a lot of wealth because they went into debt, but it's all in how you use it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, Susie Orman, Dave Ramsey, same kind of thing. And you're right. I like that thought. It's taking it all in and then making your own decision. Based on all this feedback and knowledge, which is
mm-hmm.
great. And I think there's a big misconception with our business, and obviously we're a wholesaler, an IMO distributor, right? Since 1972, mm-hmm. You're more focused on the retail side, which is great, but so many agents have this view on our industry, and they come in and they think there's like an owner's manual or like this blueprint. This is what you're going to do, and this is how you're going to make it and be successful. And mm-hmm. and what's so neat about it is there is none, and right. it's really as big and creative as you want to make it. Right. That's why I liked your point, because once you've taken all this information and knowledge and then you put your plan together your way, right, and then you take it and run with it, and there's no right or wrong way. And I think the biggest thing, is that being persistent, the discipline, being consistent over and over, and marketing, getting the word out, sticking to whatever your model looks like, and proving that it works, and then taking it to the next level, and just keep networking and nonstop building and growing. That's
mm-hmm.
that's key. So
absolutely.
That's a good point. Now let's. By the way, we're almost done here. I just want to make sure that we get everything that I have written down here. Very important stuff for our audience. What do you think about, and especially with your background, when we switch gears and we talk about technology, and I know you have some programming background. What do you think about like marketing and social media, website? I know you're just getting set up with Ringy now, but what is your take on creating videos and having your LinkedIn page and Facebook, and how important is that to grow in this
right.
business?
So one of the things, Grant Cardone, of course, one of my mentors, if you guys know that name, and he says money follows attention. Okay. So the more attention you have on yourself, good, bad, or indifferent, the more money can actually flow to you. It's like if they don't know you, they can't flow you. So with that, you want to kind of have a bit of a ubiquitous presence, and you want to be a little everywhere, right? It's like if you've ever been near your phone or your Google Mini or Alexa and you start talking about certain products, what happens? You click on your phone, you visit a website, and all of a sudden, all this stuff is coming up. Why not try to have your likenesses and your business using the exact same things to be ubiquitous? So now if somebody happens to click on your landing page or your website, the pixels or the cookies are going to follow them around, and then they see you everywhere. So in this industry, it's not uncommon for you to hear sometimes it takes 7 touches before somebody's going to make a buying decision. Okay? So the more you can start to promote and put your likenesses out there, do podcasts, do stories, and make posts, the more you give opportunity for people to see you. Like I've gotten so many clients just by a random post that I might have done on a certain topic. And now in the age of chat GTP and things like that, technology is starting to speed up. And it's scary in terms of how much stuff you can do and how fast it can be done, right? But don't be nervous about technology. Embrace it. Remember how people were afraid about the internet when it first came out, and you're going to put your email or your credit card or your social security online? And now look at it. Like you couldn't think of not doing that in most cases, right? So embrace the next wave of this technology, and don't get so caught in this digital divide that as business people, as entrepreneurs, as people, that we're so turned off to it that we don't necessarily want to grow with technology, because it is going to happen whether you want it to. So I love social media. I don't do probably as much as I want, but it's also depending on who am I comparing myself to. If I'm comparing myself to some of the people that I follow, oh man, there's no way I can compete with them because they have larger teams than what I have, right? But I don't necessarily have to. I just need to compete against myself. Can I do one more post or two more posts than I did the day before? And eventually, it's going to be habitual. And eventually, I'm going to say, you know what? Let me go hire a VA and let them start handling this stuff for me. Or let me leverage some of this AI technology to start automating everything. I mean, you can go on Fiverr and probably hire somebody for a couple of $100 a month to do some stuff and test it out and see what it does. Like, I'm in the process of doing that now, is bringing in more team members so I could be out there in the public. And I don't necessarily even have to, so to speak, to continue to grow my business, because my business has always grown on the strength of referrals. Clients love what I do and what I've taught them and what we have in place. So they're bringing me people on a pretty consistent basis. And then when I work with CPAs and accountants and I'm helping them increase their bottom line and their value, then I'm getting compensated through all of that. But I also understand being everywhere that I possibly can be and nowhere at the same time. Nowhere meaning I don't necessarily have to show up, but if I can put the content out and I can have it getting pushed out, I have to understand what's happening from a wealth transfer standpoint. We're in one of the largest wealth transfers in history. So if the majority of my clients, let's say, are baby boomers who are getting ready to retire and they got all of this wealth, they control like 2/3 of the wealth, what's going to happen when the money falls down to the children and the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren if I'm not visible? All of a sudden, I could have been working with the mom and dad or the grandmother and their niece and nephew. They don't know me. Yep. But they got a friend who maybe is half as good as I am, and they're just going to take their money down to the next person because they don't know me. So that's the reason why you want to start to develop some kind of strategy to put yourself out there, and just understand sometimes it's going to take a little time for you to get that wave of clientele coming to you, because sometimes the internet world loves a bit of consistency. Okay, so just start now, and it may be 2 years from 3 years from now, and all of a sudden now you got 2 or 3 people a week in your inbox saying, "Hey, listen, I've been watching your content for years. I know, like, and trust you. Can I do business with you?" Because if they don't know you, they can't flow you.
That's exactly what happens. That was spot on. And you know what's interesting about that, and I'll just mention this, and then I got one more question for you. So we had, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, 23,000 plus agents, all different age ranges, all over the U.S., and I hear the stories, right? And I hear, the stories from the college guy or girl, that just got their license, and then I'll hear, the story from the 77-year-old MDRT producer that, says, "Oh, Bill, my clients love me. I got a great book of business and everything's great. What do I need a Facebook page or LinkedIn page for?" And I'll explain, and it's kind of what you mentioned is, well, your book of business loves you, but then what about when the referrals come in for their children and then their grandchildren, and when their grandchild, wants to go look on a website to run a quote or see who you are, who is this guy that grandpa recommended? I just want to make sure that, he's aligned with what I'm trying to do here. And you don't even have a Google page set up or anything. They're going to wind up reaching out to that younger guy or girl that has these great YouTube videos talking about, retirement planning and tax saving strategies. So little by little, you're going to start to lose that book. It's going to die off. It's a fact. So I agree with you. You got to have the day-to-day. That's what you focus on, and then Sunday you're watching football, playing golf, or at cheerleading practice with your kids, whatever it is. And isn't it nice to get an email that says, "Hey, I saw your video. I need a quote for $1 million, 20-year term or an IUL," and that's what starts to happen little by little. It's a fact. So it works. Yep. Okay, so we're gonna end with this, and I just want to say again, Jeff, you've been so kind with your time, and I know at the end of the day you're doing all of this to help us, to help our agents, to help our audience, which is, it's amazing. It's all about giving back, and that's a big part of what we do. But this is what I'm going to just end with here is, and I think this is also important when it comes to, and it really doesn't matter what industry this is, but when it comes to, discipline, punctuality, respect, work ethic, just doing the right thing, being prepared, right, for these meetings, if you can just share your take on this, and now today, and even when you were younger, what do you recommend for the audience?
All right, good question, man. You often hear the cliche of half the battle is just showing up, right? And there is a lot of truth in that. But how are you showing up should be where you go deeper with that thought process. Your attitude determines your altitude, right? So are you showing up with this attitude like, oh, I got to go meet with another client, or, I got to go, or are you showing up with the idea of, you know what, hey, I have the pleasure to meet with a certain client. What kind of energy are you putting out into the universe? Whether that's your punctuality, your work ethic, whatever the case may be, it all falls down. A lot of times it's the energy that you are putting out. So for me, I like to show up on time, right? And now I know sometimes stuff happens and you can't control it, but if you can't communicate it, like, hey, listen, something's happened, I'm running a couple of minutes behind, and sometimes that's appreciated that you even just reached out, right, instead of doing a no-call, no-show, right? Work ethic, I don't even know how to say how important that is. I mean, again, if you the phrase, matter of fact, I'll say it like this. I remember in my cubicle, or my desk rather, when I first got into the business, I had this little saying: if you don't work, you don't eat. If you don't shine, you don't shine. Okay, and that I embodied that, which is why I was putting 70 to 90 hours in a week, growing my business in those earlier years. I was told you got to work hard for the first 3 to 5 years so you can retire for the next 35 years. Well, I wanted to know what that felt like, so I went and put the work in, okay? Whether you want to or not, at the end of the day, the work still has to be done. So how do you start to create new neural pathways in the way you think about things? Like, I used to hate folding clothes. Like, I don't mind washing them, but when it came to folding them, I would literally sit there and the clothes would stay on the bed for a while. I would even sleep on them, like whatever, just to not do them. But then I remember reading the book, and I'm like, all right, I got to change the way I think about this. Now, it's kind of therapeutic. I look forward to when it comes out. I want to go ahead and do it immediately because I remember that used to be a stronghold. So guys, you have to really inspect a lot with the way you think about what you go through. You hear life is not what happens, it's how you respond to it. Well, how are you responding to the stuff that happens? How are you responding to your business? Are you responding with the idea that, hey, I'm trying to grow to get better? Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Because the better you are, the more people you're going to serve, and the better we all are when we have people who are servant leaders. So that's how I would answer that question. I'm not going to belabor on it, but it's just, it's that level of authenticity and integrity and how you really show up. And that's what people are looking for. It's okay if you don't have all the answers, but are you willing to work to help people find the answers that they need? That's what people are looking for. They're looking for somebody to really be in their corner.
That's right. That's right. And service is such a big part of what we do. And you got to be there. You got to be
That's
there.
my love language.
Yeah,
Acts of service is my primary love language. So I love the fact that I'm in an industry that I get to be selfish in. And here's what I mean, because I want to give context. Selfishly, the more people I help, which drives and increases my euphoria, my love language, the more I get paid. So I selfishly get to get paid because I'm helping people. So the more I help, the more I get paid.
And you love what you do.
Exactly.
It's a win-win. Yep.
Absolutely.
It's a win-win. That just literally wrapped this up with a bow. That was awesome. And I just want to say, too, you talk about the service. I remember on my business card 20 years ago, I put my cell phone number on there. And my dad looked at me and he said, Bill, you're out of your mind. You're going to have agents calling you on Saturdays and Sundays. And I was like, Dad, it doesn't matter. This is my life. I need to show these agents I'm there for them. And I still, 20 years later, same exact thing. And because you have to prove this to yourself, to your agents, to your consumers, right, which is your clients. And there's no other way around it. It's either you're doing it and you're showing that, or you're not. There's no gray. So I believe in what you said. You do whatever it takes, and it becomes a win-win-win across the board. All right, with that said, Jeff, amazing, amazing, amazing stuff. So I want you to just share with the audience real fast where they can find you. If you want to share your LinkedIn, Facebook, your office line, whatever it is, but please.
Absolutely. Okay. So a few different places. Let's start with Instagram first. Jeff Hill Speaks, because my name is Jeffery Hill, but Jeff Hill Speaks. You can find me on Instagram there. HFGINC is my business Instagram page. I probably post more on my personal page, but I always typically like to tag my business page. If you want to call me, 501-291-0708 is the office line. And, of course, on various social media platforms, LinkedIn or Facebook, you can either type my name in, Jeffery Hill, or my company, Hill Financial Group. And you should be able to find me. I'm on a lot of social media outlets, so I should not be too hard to find. But I did give you the number and the contact. So feel free to connect. If you have any questions, or if you have a podcast and you want me to come on, you want to go deeper with some of the things I said, I'm open for it. I do speaking engagements all over the country. I love to travel. I love to have fun. So, I've learned a lot, and I'm in that mindset of sharing is caring. So I love to share the wisdom and things, because every time I share, it also helps me to grow, because I remember parts of my story as I'm asked questions to continue to grow, and it makes me want to continue to serve even more. So I hope you guys found value in this conversation, and do not be afraid to reach out and connect with me.
Yeah, that was great. And I'm also going to say that Jeff has a very successful agency, successful company practice, great stand-up guy, and I'm also putting my name behind this. And you talk about proof in the pudding. We have, over 100 guests already, and I always say, do you want to just give your website? People are going to want to get in touch with you. And I said to Jeff, most don't share the number. You know what Jeff told me? Bill, share my number. I want to hear from these people. So that's exactly what Jeff was saying. That was the point, which I love it. It just kind of wraps this up. So I want to put a bow on this. Thank you once again, Jeff. Thank you to our audience for listening, spending every minute with us. I hope you have walked away with some great nuggets, right? And make sure you write down just a few things that I wrote down for myself. The no blueprint is huge. It doesn't matter what you're doing, what industry. There's no mold, right? The sky is the limit. Be a sponge. Take it all in, right? And then make your own decisions. I love that. The energy, having the right mindset, showing your clients you're willing to do whatever it takes. Don't just write it on a piece of paper. Go out and be it. Do it. Prove it to everyone. So with that said, thank you again for listening. Let's have a great summer, right? A great Q3, Q4. We'll see you next month. And thank you again, everyone. Take care and good sailing.
Thank you for joining us for the Bill Levinson Experience. Please feel free to share this podcast with anyone you think would be interested. You may also visit levinsonandassociates.com and all of Bill Levinson's social media pages for more information.